Jon, thank you so much for joining me to talk about the Union Gospel Mission and what you all do here in this community. You all have been around for quite a while. Tell us about your mission.
Well, we were started in 1950. We have been operating in Chattanooga now for 71 years, a little over 71 years. We were started out of a local church, Highland Park Baptist Church, and then back in 2007, we became independent of them. And so now our corporate name is Chattanooga Outreach, but we're doing business as the Union Gospel Mission. The same principles, same guidelines of what we've done. We try to do things the same way. Most people would remember us from our emergency shelter that we used to operate down on Market and Main Street. Of course, we don't do that anymore. Now what we do is residential programming. We work with homeless men mostly who come off the street with a problem with drugs or alcohol or some other life controlling issue. And we put them through what we call a discipleship program. And that part of that program, our goal is to help turn them in or return them to productive citizens. Where they have a job and they're paying taxes and doing all that kind of stuff.
And it really does take a lot of steps sometimes to kind of get people back to that level, because sometimes people will see, homeless people on the street, whatever the condition is, and they'll say, why don't they just get a job? Why don't they just, work and pay their bills? And
Right.
It's really not that easy, because there are so many other factors into play, like whether you say addiction, mental illness, and mental health. You talked about outreach, and that's a big part of what you do right now is the outreach and reaching these people and helping to turn things around. Talk about a little bit more about, do people just come in? Do people suggest people, or do they have to have a reference? How do they, if they need the help from your agency and your organization?
Well, of course, when you've been around for 71 years, most people know about you.
Right.
And so other service providers know who we are. So we get a lot of referrals from other local service providers, even other local missions, community kitchen, places like that. A lot of local churches are familiar with us. And so when they run across someone who's in need, they'll refer them to us. And then part of our programming is outreach. And so several times a year, we'll go downtown and we'll set up and serve a meal, kind of geared towards the homeless and needy, but anybody's welcome to come. We always do a big Thanksgiving dinner. We do a big Christmas dinner. We do a big Easter Sunday dinner. And of course, that helps people stay familiar with us. And it gives us an opportunity to reach out to those people in need as well. One of the things we've already been doing this summer is, the temperatures have spiked a couple of times. And so anytime the temperatures are going to be kind of in the mid 90s or above, we're going to load up as much as we can with water, ice water, and go out and hit some of the homeless camps and share just some cold water with them to make sure they're staying hydrated. And, we're very selfish. Most organizations aren't going to tell you that, but we're very selfish because we do these things because we want the opportunity to introduce them to a better way of life if they should choose it.
And when you make that outreach to people, sometimes it's not maybe the first time, but I've heard people before, they come back and they say, there was this organization, and when I was at my lowest point, they were always there. They would come around, they would give us, whether it was food, whether it was water, and it made a difference because they saw that someone really did care. And that is part of what you're talking about right now in the midst of the summer right now, beating the heat. Something that the small things we take for granted, like having cold water, bottled water, as you say, things like that.
Yeah, that's exactly the case. It's amazing how many times over the years I've been with Union Gospel Mission for 20 years now. It's amazing how many times I hear the story. Somebody says, hey, somebody my age even says, hey, when I was a kid, I remember going to Union Gospel Mission for Christmas gifts or a meal or, this or that. And so with such a long history of impacting people's lives, it's great to still be able to do that and still reach out. And you're right, sometimes it's not the first time or the second time. Maybe it's the 10th time we reach out to them and they say, you know what, I'm really ready for a change. And then that gives us the opportunity to bring them in and really mentor them and help them make those positive changes.
So let's talk about, you're wanting to talk about also expanding a little bit and talk about what you want to do in the growth of the Union Gospel Mission.
Sure. Let me give you just a little quick background. We, for the last 12 years, had been basically borrowing a building from another service provider. They recently had received a grant to rehab that building to put it back into use for themselves. And so that costs us 8 beds. Now, there's no ill will. They were great to us for 12 years, but now we're 8 beds shorter than we were before. It kind of is an interesting juxtaposition in that just before that happened, we bought a piece of property right behind our existing property that has 2 old condemned mobile homes on it. The city will only allow us to replace those mobile homes with mobile homes. And so if we can get those up and running, that'll actually give us somewhere between 10 and 15 extra beds to counteract those 8 beds we just lost. And so what we're looking for is someone to help us either find or donate or, just give us some contacts for some used mobile homes. And then also we'll have to have somebody that will haul them in and help us set them up. And if we can do that, and it's not about the beds, it's not even really about expansion. It's about every one of those beds is a life that we get an opportunity to impact. Somebody we can take off the street, somebody whose future we can change, not just their current situation, not just give them a meal or give them a bottle of water, but actually give them a chance for their life to be different.
It's making a lifelong impact. And
yes.
Like you said, it's not just about the bed, but it's truly about the human being. And as you said, and serving our fellow mankind and helping them to live with dignity. I think I hear that a lot of times, and people really don't think about that when you think about the homeless, but you hear homeless people just say, if I had clean clothes, if I had somewhere to shower or to go and use the bathroom, it's just the little things that come with, letting you live your life with dignity.
Right. Yeah. And that's an important part of what we want to provide. We want to give them good information where they can base good decisions to impact their life.